Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, and my colleague Russell Berger from the Labor Employment Group at Offit Kurman. So this week we're talking about Sha'Carri Richardson, who has recently made the news for testing positive for marijuana and being booted from competing in the Olympics. So I figured we'd take this opportunity to talk a little bit about drug policies at work and how to implement them effectively. What kind of advice do you have for that, Russell?
Yeah, well, I think our general advice is where safety is involved, it makes sense to have drug testing, particularly, for marijuana, THC, cannabis, whatever the testing specifically covers. However, our general feeling is if it doesn't really affect job performance, it's probably not worthwhile to test for it and to create policies around it. And I think this is a great example. I mean, there's really, from what I can tell, Sha'Carri Richardson's the fastest woman on the planet, and she would give, the United States track and field team the best chance at a gold medal in the individual sprints as well as in the relay. But she's not going to participate because of, her positive drug test. And I just kind of liken it to the business situation. If that was your top salesperson, would you really want to not have your top salesperson out there at a crucial time for generating sales because they used marijuana on a weekend? And I would allow that. It's different if you're marijuana while you're at work. But to me, I kind of feel like it's a lot like alcohol. What people do on their own time, they do on their own time. And is it really worth an employer regulating? To me, not really, unless it's a safety issue, or it comes into the workplace.
Yeah, I think this is a good example where having a policy on your books that you don't really enforce or don't really care about can come back to bite you, because this is a situation where unless you do have safety concerns around marijuana usage, or you have DOT regulations that you need to comply with, that you really want to give some practical thought to what you want your drug policies to be and make sure that your handbook policies match that. Because in your salesperson example, you've got a policy on the book that's, a very strict policy, that you get terminated if you test positive for marijuana. And now you're in that situation where you're like, but I really don't want to terminate this person. You end up in a little bit of a pickle where you might be treating that person different than other people. So it's a really good example of making sure your handbook policies and things are practical and actually what you're doing.
Right. And it's a good reminder that you should go back and you should revisit those rules. I mean, to go back to sports, I mean, a lot of the professional sports leagues in this country have eliminated, penalties for marijuana usage by players. I'm not an expert when it comes to, the Olympic sports and what their, what the international rules and anti-doping policies are. Obviously, it still restricts marijuana, but I think other leagues have taken a proactive step of looking at it and saying, this doesn't really make sense anymore. We're willing to bargain this away.
Definitely something to stay on top of, especially as laws change as well. So, well, thank you, Russell, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.